Welcome back to the show, everyone. It's nice when we can talk about our hobbies here on the program, and our next guest is joining us to talk about something that's just, it's cool. It's dankness, man.
That's right. The book is called Heart of Dankness, Underground Botanist, Outlaw Farmers, and the Race for the Cannabis Cup. Mark Haskell Smith is joining us now. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So first of all, let's talk about the word dank. It's just such a good word for your book. What does dank mean to you?
What it means to me is, well, lots of different things, but what it means in the cannabis community is pretty much it's different whoever you ask. As some people, they'll say it just means good weed. Other people it means something super stinky and really sticky. And then you start asking real connoisseurs in Amsterdam, and they start talking about, well, you need the best genetics, you grow it really well. And
it's a whole philosophy.
It's a philosophy of life. And then you have to be with friends on a nice day with your favorite record, and then...
So dankness is also, it's not just about the cannabis, it's about setting, it's about situationality.
It's a cultural thing. It's how people relate, how people become friends and relate because of their relationship to the plant. So like a skateboarder and a banker might actually connect because they both like to smoke.
Right, and that's the dankness.
That's dankness, right?
Okay, what about the Cannabis Cup, for those who do not know? Talk about this a little bit. It's been going on for 25 years, which I didn't know.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of a cross between a state fair and Mardi Gras and the Olympics. Like, everyone brings... You have
for pot.
State Fair, Mardi Gras, and the Olympics.
Yeah, it's like, look, Aunt Bee baked her favorite pie. It's just filled with something.
Aunt Bee is baked.
Aunt Bee is baked. Exactly. People go from all around the world. They come to Amsterdam, and there's this competition. It's like a blind tasting, like you would have a wine tasting.
Yeah.
Like there's a big concourse in Brussels every year. They taste like 6,000 wines. This is the same thing, but it's for cannabis.
But it's very serious. So how do you do a taste test for marijuana? It's not just smoking it.
Yeah, well, they have what they call organoleptic criteria. See?
Organoleptic criteria.
Sure. It's like, how does it, you use your sense organs. Yeah. How does it look? How does it smell? And a lot of buds, because they're flowers, right? So each one smells a little bit different, has different qualities. And they start with that, and then how they look, how much crystal there is on them, as they say.
Mark, there's a fascinating aspect to this book because, of course, you're talking about weed and how much people enjoy it and the culture around it and everything else. But as a business, this is a really rapidly growing business. In the Cannabis Cup, people always sort of make their jokes. There is a lot of money on the line in this.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it is, the largest cash crop in the States by far.
Yeah.
And what happens is you win the cup, then what wins becomes like a brand name. People want to get those seeds. People want to plant them. It's sort of, I guess it's a big branding.
Yeah, lemon haze, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Super Lemonade. The big one is Kosher Kush, which won 2 awards last year, won 2 first places.
And so how much research did you do in the making of this book?
Well,
you gotta know what you're talking about.
You got to know what you're talking about. Would you want to read like a sex book by a virgin or a wine book by someone who kept,
who couldn't drink wine?
Yeah, I don't really like wine. But
this kind of stumbled into your life in a way too, because you're a novelist. You have 4 previous works of fiction, and then this is your first work in nonfiction. How did this whole thing come about that you ended up writing Heart of Dankness?
Well, I love the idea of the Cannabis Cup. It just seems so goofy. I'm like, oh, this will be fun. And I was working on a novel about a guy from LA who grows a really good strain and thinks, I'm going to enter it in the cup. And so he goes there and he wins, because I can control that in a novel. And then, but I wanted to do some research because I didn't want the novel people who had been to go, that's not what it's like. So I went. And then I met these guys from Los Angeles who grew their strain and went there and won. And they're now called DNA Genetics, and they're one of the biggest seed companies in the world. The guys are millionaires.
And you thought, I got a book in this somewhere.
I did, yeah.
Because they're fascinating characters. As you meet them through the book, they're not what you expect at all, a lot of them. I mean, some are, but most aren't. Yeah,
and they're all, self-trained for the most part, botanists, and they're serious about their science. They're serious about the plants.
Well, and this leads into that whole bigger conversation about prohibition and all these things that we have wrapped up in marijuana and cannabis now as well. How interesting has it been for you to be part of that and be in the center of that conversation as it's unfolding in Canada? You're going down to the U.S. again, all this stuff. It's got to be really interesting to see people's perspectives and what they're saying.
People are so funny, I mean, on the one hand, I can talk to like a libertarian, and they'll say, look, it's an individual rights thing.
Yeah.
There's no reason why an adult shouldn't be able to smoke a non-toxic flower in the privacy of their own home, period. You know, and then you talk to some other people and they're like, well, what about the kids? And you're like, well, you know, if you think about it, if it's legalized, you can regulate it and it's harder for kids to get.
You got beer in your house.
It's an interesting conversation. You know, would you rather your kid go to a drug dealer? Would you rather them go somewhere where they're going to buy pot?
Exactly. And that's why I think the Dutch soft drug policy works, because they sever that connection between the drug dealers that have, you know, ecstasy or heroin or whatever and pot, and you just go to a coffee shop. It's totally civilized. You pick the menu up. You look at what you might want to smoke. You ask for recommendations.
Do you have any problems crossing the border now?
Yeah, interesting.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Ask me tomorrow when I go home.
After the big book tour. Well, you have to pick it up. It's such an interesting conversation, of course, being here on the West Coast, heart of Dankness. Listen to Mikey. Yeah,
Oh,
he just went all Jamaican. Thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break.